Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to talk about the stupidest mistake young women make when they're dating. And before I do that, please do subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was ways to take care of your wife. So if you do not know what I mean when I say all the time on social media, here in my posts, etc., that women want to feel taken care of, then this is a good episode for you. And it's a good one for women to listen to with their husband if he doesn't understand and you don't know how to tell him. And it's also good to get into couples therapy, by the way. If you find yourself not able to articulate a lot of important things, that's what couples therapy helps you learn how to do. And it's probably because you never learned to articulate your needs growing up. And that's just a PSA. Okay, so what's the stupidest mistake that young women make when they're dating? Obviously, there's many because you heard they're young. Women and young people make stupid mistakes because that's the definition of being young, right? You haven't done anything before, so you don't have really good judgment about a lot of stuff. Some stuff, sure. I mean, young love is wonderful, but especially for the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, maybe your home life was not so great and you didn't have wonderful templates. And therefore, you really do not know how to act when you're especially getting into relationships for the first time. You didn't have a good role model potentially that you saw of a loving, mutual, respectful relationship between your parents. And therefore, you don't really know what you're supposed to be going for. Or even worse, you do know, but you keep going for something else. And what is that something else that's the stupidest thing that you could do as a young woman? As a young woman, I did it. Like so many of my friends did it. You go for a man who doesn't really want to get married and you try to marry him, right? Now, there is a stupid thing to do, right? Like, could you imagine it with somebody else? Like, let's say you go to the doctor. The doctor's like, I don't really want to treat you. Like, I don't want you to be my patient. And you beg him. You say, no, please. Like, instead of being like, who is this crazy person? What is wrong with them? Of course, I don't want to be their patient. They're acting crazy. They're saying they don't want me to be their patient. So, of course, I then don't want to be their patient because they're crazy. Definitionally, if you went into the dentist and the dentist was like, no, don't open your mouth. I don't want to be your dentist. You'd be like, okay, crazy. And you would probably give him a bad Google review. Maybe you'd report him to the dentist board. But what you would not do is beg him on your knees to be his patient as a dentist when he doesn't want to be your dentist. However, what do young women do with men that don't want to get married or don't want to even have a girlfriend? They figure if I stick around long enough and I make myself so indisposable and I'm so attractive to him and we have sex all the time and I'm so wonderful, then he's going to want to get married. And it'll be even better. This gets even stupider. It's like, it's going to be even better because he didn't even want to get married. So therefore, for the love of me, he will have changed everything about himself. You see how it gets even crazier the more I talk, right? And it's so classic that it's going to be even better because he didn't want to get married in the first place. So therefore, it's all about me. It's for the love of me and me alone that he will have this change. It's crazy, right? It's like even crazier. It's like going to somebody on the street and saying, can you go to dental school and become my dentist? And he's like, no, I'm a contractor. That's my job. And you're like, no, you must become my dentist, And the man doesn't even want to be a dentist at all. Forget that he doesn't want to be your dentist. He's not a dentist, doesn't want to be a dentist. And you're obsessed with making him your dentist. That's as crazy as it is. But all the women that grew up with a pursuer distancer relationship in childhood, aka preoccupied attachment, with a parent that's hard to get them to be close to you. So you're always trying to convince them to be close to you. You're always basically trying to convince them to love you like a parent, like the parents you see on TV or like the parents that your friends have or like your aunt or your uncle or somebody that's in your orbit. You want them to act like a parent, and they're basically telling you in various ways, I can't be a healthy parent. I can't be too engaged. I can't be too close. But it makes sense to follow them around. It's adaptive. It's the way that you survive. If you're a little mammal all alone, you're not going to survive. So you have to cling to your parent, and you see this with all the little funny animal videos that you get sent of the baby elephant and the mommy elephant and the baby giraffe and the mommy giraffe and all this. little mammals stick close to their parents because they have to, or else they'll die. So that's what we do as a child, as a baby, of course, as a child. As even when we're an adult, people find themselves going back to the well to parent that really cannot give you what you need emotionally, but you got an excuse there. It's your only parent, right? I mean, you could have two parents, of course, but it's your only mother or your only father. But then you take that adaptive behavior, because what's a child going to do? What's a 5-year-old child going to say? I'm going low contact. Like, I'll just see you at dinner, but mostly I'm going to be in my room. No, you don't go low contact. You're 5. So the adaptive thing is to chase your parent around, hypervigilantly waiting for them to turn some attention on you so that you can have some semblance of a parent-child relationship, right? But then, unfortunately, you take that into adulthood. And because you learned one way of being. So then you basically, and this is imago theory, you find somebody just like your caregiver, so an avoidant kind of person, and the real avoidants say they don't even want to get married, right? Because it's too close, it's too intimate. They don't really even want to be in a relationship. So, and that's like even a step further, the ones who don't even want to be in a relationship. So you find this person, and your inner system, your whole subconscious is like, oh my God, could you believe it? I found exactly the right person. They don't like me at all. Great. Couldn't be better. Or they like me a little bit when their attention is on me, but overall, they don't even want to be in the role of a boyfriend, and they don't want to be in the role of a husband. So I know what I'll do. I will make that my life's mission, to make them my boyfriend or my husband. And you see where it would come from, right? Because it's that same seeking behavior, that same hypervigilant, preoccupied attachment behavior from childhood, and now it's executed within the adult intimate relationship. And so then you make it your life's work, and of course people get older and you can wear anybody down, right? And they do love you. You've been with them. You're trying your best to be a loving person and wonderful to them, do everything they want and whatever. And so that you can heal subconsciously, so you could heal this wound of your parent not being very present. So you get this person who does not have much of a capacity, has stated they don't have a capacity. And you basically, hang out with them and have sex with them and do all these things until they finally capitulate. All their friends get married, for Christ's sake. They do love you. It's a person. I'm not talking about people that go after a sociopath, because your parent wasn't a sociopath. They were just a person with difficulty with intimacy. I mean, maybe they were a sociopath, but I don't know them, unlikely statistically. And so you go for somebody also avoidant, and so avoidant that they have mentioned that they either don't want commitment or don't want to get married. And some people say they don't want kids, and then the woman makes it her life's mission to make him want kids. Whatever the case may be, they specifically say they do not want some level of a committed, close, loving relationship that you've envisioned, but you decide that it internally, subconsciously, that it's going to be very healing to you to change their entire self-concept and make them into somebody who does, but only with you, because that would really heal it. And of course, this is only true in the situation where somehow, I don't know, 1% chance, maybe this person also goes to therapy and realizes that they really do want to be together, whatever. This is fiction. This doesn't really happen. Like, what really does happen is that it continues to be a pursuer-distancer relationship forever, and the avoidant guy is like, what the fuck is her problem? I literally got married when I didn't want to, and still there's a problem. Now it's about that I go out with the guys too much. Now it's about that I work too much. Now it's about that I'm away too much with my hobbies. It's always a problem. I even had kids I didn't want, and, now I love the kids, cool. But, there's always a fucking thing with her. Yeah, he's got a point, and if he was of course, the avoidant man is parented in such a way that they only want independence because they never got comfort, whereas the preoccupied woman that's pursuing him, she was given comfort sometimes, but not on her schedule. And all of this is covered in my podcast on attachment theory of avoidant, preoccupied, the overview. That's another subscriber episode, whatever. You could always put attachment or any of the individual terms like avoidant or preoccupied into the search bar in Spotify, and you'll get it within the Dr. Psych Mom show. But anyway, point being, if he was smart, would never have gone for a woman that wanted marriage, because he was saying he didn't want marriage. And by smart, I mean if he wasn't drawn to her as much as she's drawn to him. He's drawn to somebody that is kind of has the emotion that's fascinating to him because he's never been able to express or feel any emotion really. So her emotionality is great. It's certainly good that she's so into him that they're doing it all the time. But what isn't good and makes him uncomfortable is the fact that she doesn't accept him how he is, which of course no healthy woman that wanted a relationship would, because he's saying he doesn't want a relationship, but he kind of forgets that part a little bit. And he may even think to himself that if she was more perfect and more laid back, that he would want a relationship, forgetting that he already said he didn't want a relationship at all. So this is how this person feels, is very put upon and chaste, but yet not enough to end the relationship, because on some level, the way that he would heal himself is by getting into a relationship with a difficult woman, like how he had growing up, a difficult parent, and then getting them to accept him, which in this case would be him doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants, work when he wants, hobbies when he wants, friends when he wants, sex when he wants, and then that would be the healing thing for him. And except for the fact that this woman did not let him off the hook without marriage. In the beginning, she did let him do whatever he wanted in those other ways because her self-esteem is so low. She was trying to get him. She was trying to make him love her. She felt on some level that eventually it would click and that he would love her. Not only would he commit, which again, the fantasy is would be even more wonderful and redeeming because he had never wanted to, but then he wouldn't even want to do all those other things so much because he would be so into her that he would want to hang out with her more. And of course, you see then why these couples end up in therapy. And so the number one mistake that you can make if you want marriage or you want a relationship is to be with somebody who says that they don't. Instead of, and some of the women who are preoccupied attachment actually think that if the guy says that he wants to get married, it's almost like corny. It's almost like cringe. Like, oh, who would want to be with a guy that like wants to get married? Almost like it's too much, Securely attached people who actually want to be in relationships feel very off-putting to both preoccupied and avoidant partners. So anybody with insecure attachment of either kind, they are really weirded out by securely attached people that are like, oh yeah, I do. I want to get married and have kids. And, I want to do that. Like, I think maybe like my late 20s, like actually have a timeline. It usually approximates their parents' timeline, by the way, if their parents were happily married. But this weirds out the insecurely attached person because they do not have the self-confidence to say that they could be in a happy and loving relationship. It's almost like they got to fall into one against the will of at least one of the participants. It's almost like almost a backdoor way to get into a relationship, so you don't have to have the pressure of actually saying to the world, oh, I intend to get into a relationship. Hey, check me out. I actually believe I am healthy enough to be in a reciprocal loving relationship, because you don't feel that way. You do not feel that confidence. So it's almost easier for it to kind of just happen. Like a lot of insecurely attached pursuer distancer couples, like it just happens. Like they almost start dating, and then like after a certain point, like either she gets pregnant, that's a common one, or she starts like getting so upset that they're not engaged that they get engaged. But it isn't like an openly discussed thing as it is with securely attached couples. Oh, I'm looking for marriage long term and you're looking for marriage long term. And, even in college, securely attached couples do this. Oh, yeah, I do. I want to get married and have kids eventually. And that's like something now they talk about, and they just start ramping up talking about it more and more the older they get and the more serious they get. But with insecurely attached couples, that stuff is never discussed outright, because it would be too much confidence almost in your ability to be in a successful relationship and to talk about it. It's just like anything. If you didn't think you could get into college, you wouldn't sit there talking in depth about which college you'd like to go to and what you'd like to major in. You would maybe be frantically applying to colleges, but you certainly wouldn't say it to your friends. Oh, yes, I would like to go to this college because of this, because it's so embarrassing if you can't pull it off. And it's the same thing with relationships. So this is a really good thing, by the way, to teach your daughters. And to a lesser extent, to an extent, your sons obviously don't be with somebody who doesn't want to be in a relationship, right? But it's so much more common for women to all want to get married eventually, because they all want to have, or at least, more of them want to have kids, etc., and have that as like a major part of their self-concept, at a younger age too. But especially tell your daughters, if a man says he doesn't want a relationship, it's as though he told you he's gay. he's just out, he's just out. He's not your orientation, not going to be a match because you do want a relationship in the case that she does. So if she wants to date casually when she's in college, cool. But if the minute that she thinks, oh yeah, you know what, I will want a relationship, don't date any more men who don't want a relationship. The man says he doesn't want to get married. It's like he's telling you that he's moving to Siberia and you're never going to see him again. That's how it needs to be. And you could train yourself to think like that. And women do, after they've had a lot of bad dating experiences, they are open to coaching and they change their frame. And when a man says he doesn't want a relationship, it's really like saying he's gay. It's like, oh, that's so sad. I really thought we had something, but here you are telling me that you're not even straight. Well, I guess it's not going to work out with us. And it's the same thing if he says he doesn't want a relationship or marriage. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to y'all soon. Thanks always for listening to the Dr. Psych Mom Show.